Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about how to write the outline for paper number 4, Alex Nieto. So in the writing the paper folder you'll find our document for the outline. So let's review what needs to be in each paragraph. So your introduction, it's going to be a longer introduction. Try to keep it to 1 page, okay? You want to be succinct and to the point as possible. And so remember, we're assuming that our reader knows nothing about Alex Nieto, what happened to him, or the civil trial that happened. So it is your job to explain all of that to them, okay? So explain who Alex Nieto was on this night. This is what happened. There wasn't a criminal trial. No charges were, the cops weren't charged, but there was a civil trial, and here's what happened. Many people believe gentrification played a role in this. Gentrification means blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to end with your thesis statement saying whether you believe gentrification played a role in his death, whether 100% sure, or maybe it partly played a role in his death, and then if there were any other factors. And then in your body paragraphs, those are the reasons why you believe it did or did not. And remember, you do have to address whether you think race did play a role. Remember to plan out where you're going to use your 3 required sources. So that's the article by Rebecca Solnit, the video What Happens When Neighborhoods Gentrify, and then Gentrification Battle to Save the Soul and Heart. Okay, so those are the 3 you are required to use. Remember, any from that list of 9 links on Cobra, you are free to use. 1, 6, and 8 are the ones that you're required to use. You are free to use any of those. You don't have to get my permission to use those. But if there are any outside sources that you want to use, you have to get my permission. Okay, that means you send me the link and say, hey, can I use this in my paper? That's what permission means. Okay, there are some students still just putting it in their paper without getting approval by me. Okay, that does not work. That's not how it works in 101. Okay, you still have to get your approval through me. And then definitely counter argument paragraph and then conclusion. And remember, the outline needs to be submitted into the Dropbox before 11:59 on Thursday, December 3rd, and your works cited page is due then. Alright, so it's kind of the same setup as we had before. So in your introduction, you're going to start with the case, who he is, just the facts, what happened, and then end with your thesis statement. And then remember, if you think that gentrification did play a role, then come up with several reasons why, okay? And you're going to follow pies with that. So you're going to start with your main point, maybe reason number 1. You're going to insert a quote from one of your sources to help prove your point. You're going to fully explain it for your reader, and then a quick summary connecting it all back to your main thesis statement, okay? On paper number 3, I still had people who they weren't doing a point. They were just saying, well, this is what this source said for this paragraph. And then they said, well, this is what this source said. No, you need to take a look at all the information from the sources, and you need to build your own argument, your own ideas, okay? This isn't just telling your reader this is what this source said. That's not what this is, okay? You're arguing for a position, all right? So you're coming up with those points on your own, those reasons. And then your counter argument. So here you're going to start with what the opposing side says. So if you believe gentrification did play some role in his death, then the opposing side says no, it didn't. Okay, you're going to explain what their side is saying. Maybe if there's anywhere you can agree with, maybe find some common ground, but then you want to reiterate your point of why you believe it did or did not. Okay, and then conclusion is going to be your shortest paragraph, you know, a final thought. What do you see happening with communities like Alex's in the future? Okay. All right. And in any of this, if you want to put in your own personal opinions, your experiences, things like that, absolutely, that is very welcome to do. All right. So that is the layout of the outline. If you have questions about this, you want feedback on it, please let me know. When you turn in the outline and works cited, as usual, I'll take a look at them. I'll send you an email with feedback and then get started on the rough draft. Email me if you have questions, and I'll talk to you later.